Hello and welcome to Pisces Moon Astrology. I'm your astrologer, Kate Leonard, and I'm excited to explore the stars with you. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the week of September 7th through September 13th. And of course, what that means is this is Eclipse week. But I'm not actually talking about the eclipse since I covered that last week. But yeah, it's a time, right? It's a time. Let's get into it. Okay, before I start talking about the planets, I've got two specials and an announcement that I'm going to do very, very quickly. And please stay with me, they're important. One, book a reading with me, any one of my readings. Go over to piscesmoonastrology.com and you can see what I offer. If you haven't done your natal chart, boy, this is the time to do it. If you book by the 13th, now you don't have to use your appointment by the 13th. You just have to book and pay by the 13th. You get 20% off. I never do this, and little preview of coming attractions. Unfortunately, after the first of the year, my prices are going to go up just a bit. I also never do that, but it is finally necessary. So this is the time to grab it. This is the cheapest my readings are ever going to be. If you've been wanting to get that natal chart done or anything else, have a single question, want your medical reading done, whatever it is, go over to the website, see what I offer, and get on the books. The other special going on right now is I am partnering with a dear friend and an amazing psychic and spiritual force in the world, Anastasia, the spiritual goth. If you don't follow her on social media, she's still out there in all the spaces. She is the spiritual goth. Anyway, she and I are getting together for a combined special. This is also a book by September 13th. And what you get is 30 minutes of tarot with Anastasia. And I promise you, she reads tarot for me, even though I read tarot as well. I go to her. And it's more than just a few cards laid out, okay? It's a big experience. 30 minutes with her and 30 minutes with me, and that is going for $222. Another really good price and a really good opportunity. You can find her at thespiritualgoth.com. And I'll try to remember to put the link in the show notes below. If I forget to do that or for some reason can't, the link is definitely on my Substack, but she's thespiritualgoth.com, and that's where we're booking for that. My other announcement is that there will be no episode next week. I may try to get up a little mini bonus episode, but the likelihood is we're going to skip a week, and I am sorry about that, but I am going to an herbal conference in Cincinnati. I don't know if you all know that, but I'm also an herbalist and a flower essence practitioner. So if you weren't aware of all of that stuff, now you are. Anyway, I never leave town, and I'm actually going to do that. All right, I think that is all of the announcements. Let me give you my little quick summary of what's going on this week, both what I'm talking about and what I'm not. First off, I'm not really talking about the eclipse, which is on the 7th. This is Eclipse week. I talked about it last week because it is my experience that the 2 weeks leading up to the actual event are when we get hit the hardest. But absolutely, that energy is going on all week. And the aspects that I'm going to be talking about are certainly related to it. What I am talking about is the Sun and North Node opposition on the 10th. Okay, so the Sun and the nodes are part of the eclipse. So this is still eclipse energy, but this is going to be after the moon has already changed positions. So this is the Sun standing alone, kind of, in opposition to the North Node. That is our ego facing off with our destiny. So it is a very, very big deal. Then the very next day, on September 11th, we have Mercury move into position to face off with the North Node. So now we've got our brains, our thinking, our intellect facing off with our destiny. Like I said, this is all part of the eclipse energy, but these are very specific energetic opportunities, all right? And I think they're going to be quite big. Although, are we going to feel them as so separate from the eclipse? Not really. I think what we're going to say when we're talking about it is like, oh my gosh, that eclipse hit so hard, it did XYZ. And that won't be wrong. But these are sort of teasing out some of the threads so that we can kind of get ready to navigate through the specifics. Does that make sense? If it's easier to think of it this way, we got a whole lot of eclipse energy going on. What I'm not talking about this week, but you might want to go look into it. On the 12th, the Sun and Mercury in Virgo are going to be making a very nice aspect to Jupiter, the greater benefic, in exaltation in Cancer. So wonderful time to share time with loved ones. It'll be a good time for sharing ideas, having heartfelt conversations. And this is just going to be a time when those get togethers and those conversations, whatever, are going to pay off in everyone feeling really cared for and seen. Okay. It's a beautiful energy. Then on September 13th, Mercury will be in the heart of the sun. This is Cazimi. This is a very, very good energy. Hey, you writers out there, this is a good one for you. Mercury is writing, remember, and the sun is fame and inspiration and all of the fire energy you need to create. All right. But this, you don't have to be a writer to have this be a big deal. Mercury is our mind, it's our thinking, it's our communication. Now, the Cazimi is super good energy, but what happens is Mercury will go into the heart of the sun, and everything that it isn't needed or is negative in any way, whatever, will just get burnt away, and Mercury will be refreshed and reborn. Now, this is a fairly internal process. So what comes of this, you may not see the fruits of it until Mercury becomes visible again, because while it's so close to the sun, of course, the sun is too bright. It eclipses Mercury. When Mercury is reborn and visible, all of that refresh and reset are going to be manifesting, and we'll be able to see them and use that energy and see how it's playing out. And now let's get into the actual astrology of the week. So we've got the sun and north node facing off. As I already said, the sun is a lot of things, but think of it as our soul's expression in the world. It, put simply, our ego. But it's also just kind of where we shine in the world, our public facing self. So it's a super important and super public space. But because our egos are out there, and I don't necessarily mean that we're all egomaniacs, but you know what I'm saying? We've all got ego one way or another. It is in an opposition to the North Node, which is our destiny. It's where we're moving, where we're intended to grow. And this is the transiting North Node, so this is for this year. The North Node is in Pisces. Did I already say that? This is eclipse placement, right? So the sun is in Virgo, the North Node is in Pisces. And that North Node through this whole eclipse season and this whole year is where we're meant to grow. Pisces, spirituality, go with the flow, rely on intuition. Where are we meant to let go of things? The South Node, which is over with the sun in Virgo, that's that overthinking, paying attention to every little detail. And the other thing it is, control. Virgos like control. And it's because they're really good administrators, right? They're really good at taking care of things. And it's about taking care of the details and making sure that everything turns out the way it should. But with our egos there, think controlling, think paying too much attention to detail. Something will come up this week that is going to say, no, go with the flow, let go. You're being too controlling, whatever it is. Something is going to come up and make us face this, make us confront this Pisces Virgo dichotomy. We're not going to immediately go, yeah, that sounds great. I'll take the spiritual approach. I'll let my intuition be the guide. No, because we're going to have ego involved. We are going to be invested in, no, I got this. I'm going to take care of this. And something in this situation is going to be like, loosen the reins. Trust the universe, trust your intuition, trust yourself. We're going to be like, no, no, no. I got this. I got to do X, Y, Z to make this all turn out right. An opposition is tense energy. So this is not necessarily going to be fun or easy, but an opposition is always asking us to find balance. So nobody is saying just give up your public persona, give up your goals for where you want to shine. No, this opposition, even with our destiny, does not say that. But it's like, can you find a little balance? Can you loosen up just a little bit and trust the universe, trust your own intuition over your brain? Yes, that's going to be important because remember, Mercury's moving into position, right? So, can you trust the other people? Pisces is about union. Pisces is we're all swimming in the same ocean. Can you trust that other people can handle part of this? So look at this opposition in your natal chart. Where is Virgo? Where are you trying to hold on a little bit? Where's Pisces? Who occupies that area? That's really important. In Hellenistic or ancient astrology, which is what I do, every house is somebody or something. Now, in modern astrology, it's all us, right? It's all aspects of us. They're not wrong. But originally, that's not what the houses meant. The houses were the other people in our lives. So who's occupying Pisces? Let me give you an example. And if you want to look at this and see this in writing, go over to my Substack because I actually write this out over there. All right. It's just Pisces moon. It's free. Totally go over there. All right. So for example, if the North Node, so that point of opposition, if it's in the first house, it's actually we're struggling with ourselves. The first house actually is us in the birth chart. So it'll mean that something about our ego and our inner knowing is in some kind of a struggle. Third house could be siblings. Fourth house, parents. Fifth house, our child or children in our lives. Seventh house, partner. Ninth house, teacher or religious leader. 10th house, boss. 11th house, friend. Okay, who is that person who we need to just trust and maybe let them have some say in what we're doing or how we're doing it. Do a little blending. Again, it's not about we just go, okay, you got this. My ideas suck. I'll just go over in the corner and cry. No, this is not what we're talking about. We're just, how do we not fight for the whole shebang? How do we work in partnership better? Now, you will notice that I did not list all of the houses. If your Pisces is second house, your issues this week may have to do with money, some conflict around money. Sixth house is most likely physical health, but it can also be pets or even how you structure your day-to-day work. So, or employees. Employees also show up in the sixth house. The eighth house is either going to be about debt, joint finances, or old traumas and fears that we're grappling with. Like, I want to follow my destiny, but I'm clinging very hard to something that I can see that's more tangible. In Virgo, I'm too scared to let go. And then the 12th house, I never talk about it this way, but y'all, the 12th house has to do with hidden enemies. So those enemies that we didn't even know we were enemies, but it's also subconscious baggage. So with that, who or what is in opposition? Who or what do we need to partner with and share control with? Because this is going to help us grow and help move us along the path that we're truly meant to be walking, our fated path. If you believe in soul contracts, this is an area of growth where we can move closer to fulfilling that soul contract. Okay, then the very next day, the sun will move out of that exact opposition, and Mercury, our minds, our thinking, our communication, is going to move into the opposition. Now, often I would say, well, that sucks. And it could for some people if you have a bad, that's such a simplistic way of saying it. If you have one of the malefics right there that's getting triggered, it could be a challenging time, right? If you've got Mars or Saturn, Pluto, you know I hate Neptune. If you've got one of the more challenging planets in that Virgo position, Mercury may not at first be so helpful. You may find that you get really stubborn. So the sun, our ego, moves out and this very stubborn mind moves in and you're like, oh, hell no. That's not going to be for most of us. Most of us, our heads are going to come into it. We're going to think it through. We're going to let go a little bit of that Virgo overthink because Mercury is really strong right here. He's in his own sign. So he's now able to think really clearly and use that Virgo energy in a good way. So he's going to think it through. He's going to pay attention to the details, but in the positive sense of it, right? And go, you know what? It's true. Your idea is actually pretty good. Why don't you take that? And I'll deal with this other stuff. Or because Mercury is also our communication, you'll be like, you know what? Why don't we have a meeting about this? I want to hear your ideas and I want to share mine. And then you find compromise through that wonderful, wonderful communication. So I think by the end of the week, we're going to be doing those meetings, have those meetings of the minds. And also depending on, again, which houses are involved for you and what issues are really coming up around this eclipse and then around these two very specific placements, I think this is also a time of learning. Mercury has a lot to do with education. And so we may find that after we sort of release a little bit of the need to control, and again, this is not coming from a bad place. This is just coming from that Virgo. I feel like I'm really invested in this and I got it. And so we go into that sort of control mode, which is the shadow side of Virgo. I think there can be a place even where we have these meetings, we have these conversations, we entertain the ideas being presented by the other person, and we really learn. We're like, wow, you do it that way, or that's a really good idea that I never would have thought of. Let me add that to my toolbox moving forward. So I do think there's learning involved here once we go into the middle ground and stop clinging to our one and only vision, because remember, the sun is also our vision, right? It's what allows us to see. So once we let go of our one and only vision and our one and only way of getting there, I think there's real learning here. And I think that's part of the growth. Now, the other thing I'm going to throw out there, I've got two specifics here. So writers, this is really a way of going into deep knowing, Pisces, going into writers groups, feedback from beta readers, things like that, when we can re-see our projects, re-see them, see them with new eyes, see them in a new light. For everybody else, this is a time to deepen our psychic abilities. All right. I know a lot of my listeners and a lot of the people that I read for are people who either are full on aware of their psychic abilities or they have those little inklings like, I've always thought maybe, but they've never kind of dared to say, yes, I'm psychic. I'm going to go, develop this, right? And it doesn't mean you have to work as a reader, as a psychic, any of that, but just as a life skill. This is a time when finding the balance between intuitive knowing and intellectual knowing is going to be very, very possible. And so what does that mean? It's that I am now intellectually aware of what my intuitive abilities, what my intuition is telling me. So this is a really good time to pay attention to intuition and really learn to rely on it and channel it, like recognize your own intuitive voice. I hope all of this was helpful. I said this wasn't going to be about the eclipse, and it certainly is since we're dealing with the sun and the node, but it's specific, right? The eclipse is going to hit with a much bigger and much more general boom. And this is teasing out those threads to say like, oh, this piece, this is where I have to grow. So I hope this is helpful. I hope you're going to all run, not walk, and book one of these amazing specials that we've got going on. I hope to see you over on Substack. Please come on over and comment so that you and I can talk. And again, thank you so much for being here. I really just can't tell you. Probably no episode next week. Don't forget that. And I will be back as soon as I get back from the Herbal Conference in Cincinnati, where I've never been. So I will miss you. I'll be sending you good herb vibes. And until week after next, go out and seize the energies of the stars. This is truly my wish for you always. And boy, we've got big energy to seize. I will talk to you soon. Bye.